Another day, another banger. Today, we'll be jumping into the action-packed world of XXX. This will be a trilogy and include a total of 3 movies. Without further ado, make sure you're comfortable and as always, enjoy the recap. XXX kicks off with a mysterious man strolling through a bustling town, only to be ambushed and robbed. He quickly finds himself under the gaze of armed men who spot him and report back to their boss, informing him that their target has slipped into their party. As the gangsters begin their search amidst the lively celebration, one of the hitmen manages to track him down and take him out, allowing the festivities to continue undisturbed. Meanwhile, in Virginia, Agent Augustus Gibbons enters a high-tech facility to investigate the recent assassination of one of their operatives. Gibbons explains the threat posed by Anarchy 99, a rogue ex-military group turned merciless killers. The agency realizes they're dealing with a new breed of enemy. Over in California, a flashy car pulls up to a valet. But before the owner even knows it, the car is hijacked by Xander Cage. Xander, a thrill-seeking daredevil, drives the car like it's his personal playground. While recording every high-speed moment, he mocks the senator who owns the car, stating this is payback for attempting to ban rock music. As the police close in on him, Xander takes it up a notch, launching the car off a bridge and parachuting to safety while watching the vehicle explode in a spectacular display. His crew rushes to his side, helping him escape and leaving chaos in their wake. Later that night, Xander returns home to a surprise party thrown by his friends, who celebrate his latest wild stunt. Amid the crowd, a woman suggests he create a game to boost his popularity, while another friend, JJ, advises him to keep a low profile with all the heat he's attracting. But just as the night reaches a high point, the cops burst in, shutting down the party and shooting Xander with a tranquilizer. He passes out, leaving his fate hanging in the balance. The next morning, Xander wakes up in a diner, disoriented and unsure of where he is. As he glances around, a worker tells him to call 911, which only adds to his confusion. Suddenly, 2 men draw guns and attempt to rob the place. Instinctively, Xander springs into action, swiftly taking them down. As the dust settles, the sound of clapping fills the diner, and Xander looks up to see Augustus Gibbons, who was secretly observing the whole scene. It turns out this was a test of Xander's skills, and he passed with flying colors. Gibbons introduces himself, but Xander, unimpressed, criticizes the agent's setup, revealing he saw through their ruse long ago. Gibbons, amused and impressed by Xander's sharpness, orders his team to bring Xander in for good. He shoots Xander with a tranquilizer, and everything fades to black. This time, Xander wakes up on a plane surrounded by more men, skeptical of whether they're real or not. Before he can get his bearings, the men open the plane's hatch, preparing to jump out, and Xander is forced to follow as they parachute into the middle of nowhere. After touching down, he realizes they're in Colombia. As they begin walking through a nearby town, Xander is ambushed by soldiers who knock him out. When he comes to, he finds himself tied up face to face with a boss figure demanding to know who he is. Still under the impression this is just another test, Xander mocks the man and laughs, unconcerned. The boss, unfazed, slaps Xander and menacingly waves a blood-stained machete in his face. But as Xander catches the metallic scent of real blood, he realizes that this situation might be genuine. Adrenaline kicks in, and he quickly breaks free from his restraints. Just then, helicopters appear, unleashing gunfire on the compound. Xander seizes the opportunity amidst the chaos, helping one of his captors escape and carrying him through the hail of bullets. In search of a getaway vehicle, Xander is stymied by explosions and debris blocking his path. Spotting a dirt bike nearby, he hops on and speeds through the compound, chased closely by the helicopter. With quick reflexes and daring stunts, Xander evades the chopper's gunfire and makes a daring jump over a barbed wire fence, showing off his full potential. He even manages to knock a guard off a tower as he continues his escape. Xander rides up onto a roof, the helicopter still on his tail. He manages to briefly evade the chopper's sight, but as he rounds a corner, a group of men ambush him and take him captive, once again testing his limits. As Xander stands surrounded by his captors, Augustus appears, revealing that this was yet another test. Xander has passed, proving his resourcefulness and loyalty. Frustrated, Xander headbutts one of the agents before reluctantly agreeing to walk and talk with Augustus. Praising Xander for going back to rescue his teammate, Augustus offers him a mission to take down the notorious Anarchy 99. Xander refuses, unwilling to work for federal agents, but Augustus has other plans. He threatens Xander with a life sentence for his past stunts if he declines, leaving Xander with no option but to accept the role of XXX with his new assignment. Xander and Augustus fly to the Czech Republic, where he is briefed on infiltrating the Anarchy 99 gang. Upon arrival, Xander meets Milan Sova, a Czech officer assigned to assist him. They clash immediately, as Xander, with his fearless attitude, makes it clear he's calling the shots. To kickstart the mission, they head to a club known to be the hangout of Anarchy 99. Xander quickly spots the gang and boldly approaches them, causing a scene to assert his presence. In a calculated move, Xander loudly announces there's a cop in the club, pointing out Milan, gaining the gang's trust while getting Silver ejected. Impressed, the gang's leader, Yorgi, asks Xander how he knew about the cop, and Xander's quick, smooth response earns Yorgi's respect. Yorgi's younger brother, Kolya, recognizes Xander's reputation and welcomes him to sit with them. Xander seizes the opportunity to play his cover, telling them he's looking to buy cars and hands them an elaborate list. Yorgi's partner, Yelena, cautions that the list is difficult to fulfill, but they settle on a price with Xander promising to have the money in 48 hours. The group accepts him into their circle, and they party together late into the night. The next morning, Xander gets a call from Augustus, who's angry that he altered the car list. However, Xander assures him it was all part of the plan and that he's gathered valuable intel on the gang, which impresses the agency. Despite wanting to go home, Augustus insists he dig deeper, leaving Xander with no choice but to stay embedded within the dangerous world of Anarchy 99. Some while later, Xander meets Toby Lee Shavers, the agency's tech genius responsible for crafting specialized gadgets. Toby eagerly shows off his latest creations, providing Xander with a set of unique weapons and tools. He hands him custom guns loaded with various dart types, explaining their effects, and offers binoculars with X-ray capabilities to see through solid objects. He even gives Xander bandages laced with explosives, showcasing his creative and unconventional approach to spy gear. Back in the gang's world, Yelena confirms that no money has come through from Xander, which raises Yorgi's suspicions. Frustrated, Yorgi confronts Xander, demanding an explanation, but they're interrupted by a message confirming the payment. Relieved, Yorgi's suspicions fade and the tension eases. Later, Milan Sova, the Czech cop, is seen spying on the gang from a rooftop, catching sight of Xander's new cars. Xander and Yorgi get into a car, only to notice Milan's presence, which leads to a confrontation. Xander and Yorgi briefly suspect each other, but when they realize Milan isn't working for either of them, they shift focus to taking him out. They race through the streets after Milan, intent on eliminating him. During the chase, Xander closes in and in a bold move, shoots Milan in the back, killing him. This brutal act impresses Yorgi, who, pleased with Xander's loyalty, invites him deeper into the inner circle of Anarchy 99. At an electrifying Anarchy 99 party, Xander mingles with the gang, casually advising Kirill to cut down on his vices. Yorgi approaches, explaining Anarchy 99's origin and success since leaving Russia, emphasizing their transition from soldiers to mercenaries. Xander and Yelena share a conversation, exploring their differences, with Xander noting her cold, detached nature. After the party, Xander and the gang head to Yorgi's heavily guarded mansion. As they enter, Xander observes the layout, taking mental notes of potential escape routes and security points. He engages in casual banter with one of the soldiers, concealing his true intentions while gathering critical intel on the property. The next morning, Xander discreetly explores the mansion, analyzing possible exits and memorizing the surroundings. However, he's caught off guard when Yelena arrives, unaware of his presence. He watches as she opens a hidden compartment in the floor, snapping pictures of the contents inside. Surprising her, Xander confronts Yelena, who instinctively draws a weapon on him. Xander quickly disarms her, questioning her real identity and motivations. As they talk, Xander confronts her about her reaction when he shot Milan, revealing his suspicions that she isn't who she appears to be. Meanwhile, elsewhere in the mansion, Yorgi receives an anonymous phone call that visibly unsettles him, hinting at potential threats looming over their operation. While having lunch together, Xander jokingly tells Yelena he's a secret agent, which makes her laugh. But her amusement fades quickly when she receives a call from Kirill, who warns her that Xander really is an agent and advises her to stay away from him. Shaken by the revelation, Yelena turns to Xander and urgently asks for immunity. She reveals valuable details about Anarchy 99 and informs him that his cover is blown while Kirill lurks nearby, watching them from a rooftop with a rifle trained on Xander. Reacting quickly, Xander takes cover behind Yelena, knowing Kirill won't shoot while she's in the line of fire. He then causes a scene to distract the gang, escaping through the crowded streets, using his agility and quick thinking to evade Kirill's line of sight. But as Xander reaches his car, he's ambushed and taken captive by unidentified men who whisk him away to an unknown location. Xander finds himself at an opera house, where he sees Augustus watching a performance. Gibbons informs him that his mission is over, his cover is blown, and he's ordered to return home and forget about Yorgi. Augustus reveals that Anarchy 99 is working on a weapon of mass destruction, which frustrates Xander, as he feels he can't leave without stopping them. Despite his anger, he has no choice but to retreat for now. Meanwhile, Yorgi's soldiers are on high alert after the recent chaos. Xander, however, isn't done yet. Under the cover of night, he sneaks back into Yorgi's facility. He silently takes down a guard and begins setting up his plan, attaching explosive bandages to each of the motorcycles in the compound. His patience pays off when he spots Yorgi emerging, allowing Xander to follow him discreetly through a hidden door. Staying close, Xander watches Yorgi and Yelena enter a lab where scientists are hard at work on a mysterious project. When Yelena asks what they're building, Yorgi grins and cryptically promises it will change everything for them. Xander uses his special binoculars to observe through the walls, his expression turning to shock as he realizes the extent of Yorgi's plans. Moments later, Yorgi celebrates the project's completion and receives a trigger device from one of his scientists. He steps into a sealed room with his men and with cold precision, arms a missile. Sending the workers into a frenzy as they beg to be saved, Yorgi ignores their pleas and launches the missile, filling the room with deadly gas as the scientists perish in horror. Yelena watches the ruthless display, horrified by Yorgi's merciless actions. As the gas dissipates, a powerful ventilation system clears the smoke, underscoring just how meticulously planned and lethal Yorgi's operation truly is. Still lurking in the shadows, Xander confronts a wave of armed men who quickly trigger an alarm, alerting the entire facility to his presence. He dodges bullets, making a break for it as he leaps onto a dirt bike and speeds away. Unaware of the explosive bandages Xander had attached to their own bikes, his pursuers give chase, hot on his trail. In an epic mid-air stunt, Xander takes down one of his attackers, and as Kolya closes in, Xander detonates the explosives, setting off a massive blast that kills Kolya. The explosion leaves Yorgi enraged at the loss of his brother. Returning to his quarters, Xander finds Milan waiting for him, threatening to kill him on the spot. But Yelena intervenes, shooting Milan before he can pull the trigger. She reveals to Xander that she's been working undercover for 2 years, only to be abandoned by her own country. Desperate for an escape, she pleads with Xander for immunity. Despite being unable to make promises, Xander sympathizes with her, and they begin formulating a plan to disarm Yorgi's missile and end Anarchy 99's scheme. Though Yelena feels disillusioned and reluctant, Xander encourages her to push forward. In preparation for the mission, Xander meets up with Toby, who equips him with new gadgets tailored for the mission. Ready for action, Xander then boards a plane, diving out with a snowboard strapped to his feet. Parachuting down into snowy mountains, he lands gracefully and begins snowboarding through the treacherous terrain. Yorgi's men spot him and give chase, but Xander relies on his athleticism and quick reflexes to evade them, skillfully dodging obstacles as he careens down the mountainside. When he's almost cornered at a cliff's edge, Xander hurls a series of explosives, setting off an avalanche that wipes out his pursuers. Expertly navigating through the chaos, he manages to cling to a high pole, holding on as the avalanche roars past. As the snow settles, Xander lifts his head, only to find himself surrounded by more of Yorgi's men, who close in and capture him. Xander is brought before Yorgi, who reveals that he knows Yelena's true identity. He taunts both of them, expressing his disappointment in Xander, saying he would have preferred to have him as an ally while the world crumbles. Just as Yorgi prepares to eliminate them, the facility is raided by a swarm of cops, sparking a massive shootout. In the chaos, Xander and Yelena manage to escape, gearing up to chase down Yorgi, who makes a break for it with his destructive plan in motion. Outside, the cops continue to engage in intense gunfire with Yorgi's men cutting down his defenses. Meanwhile, Yorgi, determined to complete his mission, sends his deadly bomb underwater, set on triggering mass destruction. As he bids farewell to Kirill, Xander closes in, using a heat-seeking missile to eliminate Kirill in an explosive moment. Yorgi speeds off on his boat, attempting to launch the missile from a distance, but Xander gives chase, firing shots until he successfully hits Yorgi, causing his boat to explode in flames. With Yorgi down, Xander's focus shifts to stopping the bomb. Toby arrives with Xander's car, now outfitted with advanced upgrades perfect for this final mission. Xander and Yelena speed after the underwater missile, racing against time to save the city. Meanwhile, Augustus and his team scramble, unsure of how to respond with the city still occupied. They catch a glimpse of Xander's car in pursuit, giving them a glimmer of hope. As fighter jets take flight to intercept, Xander instructs Yelena to get closer to the bomb. Using his car's weapons, he hooks onto the missile and pulls his parachute, gliding onto the missile-carrying boat. He attempts to override the system, desperate to stop the impending catastrophe. But the missile prepares to launch and the city braces for disaster, watching helplessly as Xander battles against the ticking time bomb. Thinking quickly, Xander removes one of the missile components, flipping it upside down to destabilize it. Just as the jets are about to fire, Xander succeeds in redirecting the missile into the water, where it detonates safely, sparing the city. Augustus and Yelena initially fear the worst as Xander is nowhere to be seen. But moments later, he emerges from the water, cold and exhausted but very much alive. A wave of relief sweeps over everyone as Xander reunites with Yelena. Following their victory, Xander and Yelena retreat to Bora Bora for a well-deserved break. Their relaxation is short-lived, however, as Augustus contacts them with news of another mission, hinting that Xander's life as a spy is far from over. State of the Union kicks off at a seemingly peaceful farm where horses roam freely, but the tranquility is short-lived. A man arrives at a barn only to discover a trail of dead bodies. Suddenly, a group of heavily armed high-tech soldiers ambushes him, blasting open a hidden floor to reveal Augustus Gibbons' underground NSA facility. The invaders, armed with advanced weaponry, storm the facility, leaving devastation in their wake. Augustus attempts to fend them off, initiating a brutal shootout. Despite his efforts, the soldiers overpower the agents, gunning them down ruthlessly. Amidst the chaos, Gibbons and tech expert Toby Lee manage to escape in a reinforced GTO, a nearly indestructible car. Before parting, Gibbons hands Toby a spy device, instructing him to analyze it to uncover the group's sophistication and coordination. Meanwhile, the new XXX candidate remains in prison. Over at the White House, President James Sanford and General George Deckert meet to discuss the attack that has left 16 agents dead. In the Situation Room, the president and his advisors strategize their next steps following this attack on American soil. Elsewhere, in maximum security, Augustus Gibbons visits Darius Stone, a former military lieutenant with a rebellious streak. Initially, Darius refuses Gibbons' job offer, still holding a grudge. However, when Gibbons mentions that Darius' old unit is being targeted, he agrees to listen. Gibbons outlines the urgent need for someone with Darius' skills for an upcoming mission. Meanwhile, word of Xander Cage's death reaches the agency, leaving everyone shocked by the loss of the previous XXX. Back in prison, Darius keeps a close eye on the clock. When guards come to escort him, he seizes the moment, attacking them and breaking free. He dashes through the facility, using his combat skills to evade capture, and finally makes it to the rooftop. Confronted by more guards, he fights them off before taking a daring leap onto a passing helicopter. He climbs aboard and finds Gibbons inside, waiting to whisk him away. Upon landing, Gibbons introduces Darius to Toby Lee. They drive off to get Darius a meal, the first decent one he's had in years. Darius, however, grows irritated by their haste, asserting his independence and warning them that he doesn't take orders lightly. He makes it clear that if he's going to work with them, it'll be on his own terms. The stage is set for Darius Stone's reluctant entry into the dangerous world of espionage as the new XXX agent. The next morning, Darius joins Augustus and Toby as they venture into his old neighborhood, where he feels more secure and in control. He heads to a car shop run by his longtime friend, Zeke, who welcomes him with open arms and helps them lay low. From there, they move uptown to find Lola, an old flame and partner in crime. Lola is initially furious at Darius for bringing trouble to her door, but her attitude shifts when he offers her the coveted GTO. As they reconnect, Lola agrees to work with Darius, and together they start forming a plan to track down those responsible for the attack on Augustus and his team. Darius, still holding a grudge from their last mission, warns Augustus that this partnership had better be worth it, demanding full transparency this time around. With the team ready for action, Toby sets up surveillance on a remote farm where the high-tech attackers are believed to be hiding out. Darius then makes his entrance in true XXX style, by blowing up several of their cars to create chaos. Agent Kyle Steele, the determined agent in charge, catches wind of Darius' approach and orders his men to capture him. Inside the facility, Darius stealthily takes down several guards, finding and grabbing the hard drive with key data. But Agent Kyle realizes it's a diversion and rushes back, trying to intercept Darius before he escapes. With guards in hot pursuit, Darius shows off his combat skills, evading capture by sprinting through the woods and dodging gunfire. He finds a speedboat and makes his getaway, blasting the remaining enemy boats out of commission as he speeds off. Meanwhile, Toby, waiting nearby, gets pulled over by suspicious police officers, creating a tense situation. But Darius pulls up in the speedboat, crashing it straight into the police car, allowing Toby to escape and leaving the cops dumbfounded. Back at headquarters, Agent Kyle digs into Darius' background, piecing together his history. He learns that Darius is an ex-Navy SEAL and was court-martialed after a falling out with General Deckert, who had him imprisoned for 20 years. Reviewing security footage, Kyle confirms his suspicions, discovering that Augustus had visited Darius in prison. The night turns tense as Augustus, determined to uncover the truth, breaks into a hidden house where he suspects crucial information may be. Moving through quietly, he finds old photographs of his team, memories that trigger anger and pain. Suddenly, he's ambushed by a guard and overpowered, only to look up and see none other than General Deckert lurking in the shadows, his expression cold. Augustus confronts Deckert, fury in his eyes, accusing him of betrayal and reminding him of the 16 men Deckert led to death, as well as the fire that left a permanent scar on Augustus's face. He warns Deckert, hinting that Darius will be his undoing and calling him a traitor to the nation. But as Augustus tries to leave, the house erupts in a fiery explosion, a trap set by Deckert. Meanwhile, Darius and his team reel from the news of Augustus's death, their grief soon giving way to determination and anger. They dive into the hard drive they obtained, searching for any clue that could expose Deckard's plan. They attend Augustus's funeral, watching from afar as they pay their respects. Among the crowd, Darius spots Deckard, along with government official Charlie Mayweather. Darius subtly follows Charlie, managing to confront her later in a restaurant. She's wary and defensive, reluctant to share any information about Augustus. However, her friend's invitation to a political rally provides an opening. Going undercover as a waiter at a high-profile government event, Darius works with Charlie to monitor Deckard, carefully eavesdropping on his conversations. But before long, one of Deckard's men spots Darius, leading to a chase through the venue. Luckily, Charlie steps in to help Darius, getting him out of there and into her car just in time. As they speed away, she brings him to her apartment to lie low, knowing Deckard's reach is vast. After cleaning up, Darius searches for Charlie, only to find a gun lying on the floor. A grim warning. Following the trail, he stumbles upon the body of General Pettibone, realizing with horror that he's been set up for the murder. Within minutes, Agent Kyle Steele arrives, taking charge of the chaotic crime scene and finding Darius. Tension brews as Darius explains the setup and names Deckard as the mastermind. Kyle remains skeptical, revealing a photo supposedly implicating Darius, which only frustrates him further. Kyle exits the house, unable to fully believe Darius's story, but not ready to turn him over. Outside, as the officers move in, Darius makes a swift escape, knocking down the cops and slipping away in a soldier's uniform, blending into the night. Now on the run, Darius plans his next move, more determined than ever to expose Deckard's conspiracy and avenge Augustus's death. Darius is furious, and he and Toby hatch a risky plan to hack into the Department of Defense, hoping to unearth evidence of Deckard's schemes. While Toby works on the hack, Darius and Lola reminisce about their past, sharing stories and their mutual love for cars. A moment of calm before the storm, their conversation is cut short when Toby finds something. Deckard has been secretly moving armored vehicles and weapons through a Navy base. Determined to sabotage Deckard's operation, Darius infiltrates the base. Slipping onto a boat, he sneaks in, maneuvering through rows of heavy artillery and military vehicles. Amidst the crowd of soldiers, he spots Charlie Mayweather and follows her, dispatching a guard who tries to stop him. Darius makes his way inside and, to his shock, finds Augustus and other members of his old unit being held. Charlie realizes she's been exposed and tries to stop him, but Darius quickly overpowers her, knocking her out. With Deckard's soldiers in hot pursuit, Darius commandeers a tank, causing mayhem throughout the base. His voice crackles over the radio as he taunts his pursuers, enjoying every second of the chaos he's creating. Soldiers fire at him, but he maneuvers the tank skillfully, dodging shots before ramming into another tank, forcing him to escape on foot. Thinking quickly, he rigs one of the tanks to act as a makeshift slingshot, sending it hurtling into another, causing an explosion that sends several tanks tumbling into the water. Meanwhile, Deckard and the president discuss the recent events, with Deckard pushing his agenda under the guise of national security. At the same time, Kyle Steele meets up with Darius, who lays out his findings, including a map of the capital marked with Deckard's strategic placements. Kyle is skeptical at first, but begins piecing things together when Darius insists Augustus is alive and Deckard's forces are amassing for a coup. Still cautious, Kyle advises Darius to gather concrete evidence to avoid risking a wrongful accusation. Returning to the office, Kyle starts investigating Darius's intel, just as Deckard himself unexpectedly arrives. Deckard's sudden visit unnerves Kyle as the general questions him about Darius, his loyalty evident in his ominous tone. Deckard's words are both a threat and a test, a thinly veiled warning to stay away from Darius. This encounter only raises more suspicion in Kyle's mind, pushing him closer to uncovering the full extent of Deckard's treachery. In a climactic showdown, Darius and Kyle, with their allies Zeke and his crew, launch a daring assault to stop Deckard and save Augustus. With the truckload of weapons in tow, they gear up for a final stand against the rogue general's forces. Their mission: prevent Deckard from seizing power and save the president from the coup. As they race through the city, crashing through barricades and evading blockades, they encounter a tank blocking their way. With a quick plan, Darius and Zeke's men overpower the tank crew, seizing control. Darius now steers the tank down the crowded streets, plowing forward with unstoppable force. Meanwhile, Deckard's men launch a surprise attack on the president during his speech, aiming to overthrow the government and install Deckard as the new leader. The president confronts Deckard directly, calling him a traitor, but Deckard only smirks, confident in his victory. Suddenly, Kyle arrives with his team, initiating a fierce shootout with Deckard's soldiers to protect the president. Inside the compound, Darius and Kyle locate Augustus being held by Charlie, only to manage to outmaneuver her, rescuing Augustus just in time. With one final threat, they force Charlie to back down, ending her involvement in Deckard's coup. In the final stretch, Augustus confronts Deckard, demanding he release the president, Refusing to back down, Deckard flees, dragging the president onto a bullet train in a desperate bid to escape. Augustus fends off Deckard's remaining soldiers, but Darius takes up the chase just as Lola pulls up with a sleek ride. Determined, Darius jumps in and races down the tracks, swerving through traffic, inching closer to the speeding train. Spotting the train ahead, Darius maneuvers the car onto the tracks and speeds up, firing at Deckard's soldiers in the carriage. With a daring leap, he crashes the car into the side of the train, climbs aboard and reloads his weapon. Inside, he's confronted by a soldier, and a brutal fight ensues, with the two smashing each other through the tight quarters. Though momentarily overpowered, Darius spots a lighter, using it to ignite an explosive and neutralize the soldier. Now face to face, Darius and Deckard engage in a fierce shootout. Their battle continues, Darius finally overpowering Deckard and giving the president time to escape in a chopper. He himself then escapes the train just in time. In a dramatic end, Augustus detonates the carriage. Darius lands safely in the water below, exhausted but triumphant. As Augustus watches from above, relieved the mission is finally over. The following morning, news outlets cover the thwarted attack on the president. In a formal ceremony, the president honors Kyle with a Medal of Commendation for his bravery. Meanwhile, Darius and Lola share a heartfelt goodbye. As a final gift, she hands him the keys to a pristine Mustang, which he revs up and speeds off in style as the new XXX. Return of Xander Cage kicks off with a satellite plummeting from outer space, crashing into Earth in a destructive blast. We then cut to Augustus Gibbons discussing the XXX program, emphasizing the extreme stunts and fearless agents that make the program legendary. In a surprising scene, he's seen trying to recruit Brazilian soccer star Neymar Jr. for the program. Over a meal, Augustus explains what it takes to be XXX, but Neymar politely declines, prompting Augustus to leave, only to be interrupted by a sudden attack. Neymar, quick on his feet, saves Augustus, receiving his praise. Just as things calm down, the satellite crashes down, obliterating everything in its path and taking out both Augustus and Neymar. Meanwhile, at CIA headquarters, a skilled operative named Serena Unger breaks into the facility with the help of her associate, Hawk. Inside, CIA officials hold a tense meeting discussing the satellite that killed Augustus and the powerful device behind it, the Pandora's Box, a tool capable of controlling and destroying any satellite. During the meeting, a mysterious and highly trained intruder, Shang, attacks the CIA guards, taking down everyone in his path with expert combat skills. Shang successfully steals the Pandora's Box and escapes with his team. As the group retreats, Hawk stays behind momentarily to fight off a CIA guard, knocking him out before leaving. However, their escape is nearly thwarted when a motorcyclist ambushes them, though he's swiftly stopped. Amidst the chaos, the CIA realizes the magnitude of the theft, and Jane Mark, the new head of the XXX program, takes charge. Recognizing the threat Pandora's Box poses, she prepares to launch an operation to retrieve it, setting her sights on recruiting Xander Cage, the original XXX who's been off the grid for years. In the third movie of this trilogy, Xander Cage makes his explosive comeback with a signature adrenaline-fueled stunt. High above the ground, he launches into a daring ski descent, tearing through dense brush and weaving recklessly down mountainous terrain, embodying the wild spirit fans know him for. His journey continues as he hits the streets on a skateboard, speeding downhill and thrilling onlookers who cheer him on. Finally, he reaches his destination, a small village, where he connects to the internet, revealing that his entire stunt was to secure a signal and stream a soccer game, much to the amusement and joy of the local crowd. Later, in Santo Domingo, Xander is studying a map when he senses something suspicious. Observing his surroundings, he notices unusual behavior and discovers a hidden bomb in a bag nearby. Suddenly, undercover agents close in, urging him to surrender. Xander acts fast, disarming one and firing his weapon, only to realize the entire setup is a staged operation arranged by Jane Mark. She reveals herself, applauding his skill in identifying the undercover agents. They retreat to a private area where she breaks the news about Augustus's death and informs him about Pandora's Box, the powerful device stolen from the CIA. Moved by his friend's death, Xander agrees to take up the mantle of XXX once more to protect the world and avenge Augustus. Xander's mission first takes him to London, where he reconnects with Ainsley, an old contact, to gather intel on the mysterious group behind the CIA breach. Armed with new information, he returns to Jane and confirms that the group is hiding out in the Philippines. Determined, Xander gears up to confront this new threat, setting off to take down the deadly organization responsible for his friend's death. In the Philippines, Serena and Shang lay low, discussing the risks and potential dangers of Pandora's Box. Serena urges Shang to destroy it, but their disagreement escalates, leading to a tense moment where Serena fires a shot close to him as a warning. Meanwhile, back at the Air Force Base, Xander and Jane prepare for the mission. Jane introduces Xander to the latest tech advancements and they board a high-tech plane. As Xander explores the equipment, he's approached by Becky Clearidge, a tech specialist and an enthusiastic fan of Xander's. Clearly infatuated, Becky expresses her admiration a bit too eagerly until Jane redirects her focus to the mission. Next, Xander meets Paul Donovan, a military leader responsible for overseeing the mission to retrieve Pandora's box. Xander questions their abilities, doubting they're capable of the kind of reckless stunts he's used to. Frustrated with their lack of edge, Xander ejects them from the mission, prompting Jane to let him choose his own team. Xander's handpicked recruits include Adele Wolfe, a sharpshooter passionate about protecting wildlife who shoots poachers to safeguard animals. Tennyson the Torch is a daredevil known for crashing cars into ATMs to make it rain cash. Finally, there's the Hood, a DJ and underground performer who evades club security to hype up crowds. The eclectic team gathers, questioning Jane's authority and the details of the Pandora's box mission. Becky, amused by their rebellious attitude, helps Xander suit up in new armor and showcases the advanced weapons they'll need for the operation. The team arrives on Caramoan Island, navigating by boat and quickly catching Serena's attention. They're approached by a local gangster demanding a tax to enter the area. Xander, ever the provocateur, snaps the man's gun in half with a grin, prompting laughter and impressing him enough to grant them access to the party. As the mission unfolds, tensions are high, and the team's unique skills and personalities promise an unconventional approach to stopping the threat posed by Pandora's box. Once inside, the team begins their search for the ghost crew. Adele positions herself atop a tree with her sniper, ready to strike. Shang and Xander spot each other, drawing Talon's attention, who moves in to take down Xander. Adele sees this and prepares to fire but is distracted when the Hood entertains the crowd, causing Talon to lose sight of his target. Meanwhile, Xander pursues Shang and moves away from the crowd but encounters Serena. They begin discussing their main objective as to why they are here, which forces them to confront each other with weapons drawn, exchanging tense words, unable to trust one another. As their standoff continues, Shang appears, ordering them to stand down and warning Xander to proceed carefully if he values his life. Xander sits with them as Shang reveals the Pandora's box, initiating a tense negotiation. To test Xander, Shang throws a grenade, forcing everyone into a chaotic game of hot potato. They argue over who should control the box, with Shang making it clear he wants the power for himself. He then questions Xander's reputation, trying to gauge if he truly is the legendary XXX, and asserts that he won't give up the box. Suddenly, helicopters appear overhead and soldiers storm the party. With no other option, Xander cracks jokes, exposing the soldiers' identities to the crowd, refusing to back down. He continues to tease the soldiers, whilst Adele waits for the signal as Serena watches his courage. Fed up, she attacks a soldier, and a gunfight breaks out, allowing the group to battle and eliminate the intruding soldiers. Xander mounts a dirt bike to chase Shang, while using it as a weapon, managing to save Serena's life before pursuing Shang. The chase takes them through the forest, with both men racing at high speed. They miraculously ride their bikes across water while evading gunfire from more soldiers, showing off their impressive skills. However, a massive wave wipes them out, giving Shang the opportunity to escape. Xander manages to retrieve the box in the mess and makes his way back to shore, only for Serena to await his arrival. She takes this chance to intercept and shoot the box, destroying it before leaving. Adele rushes to Xander, informing him that another satellite has fallen, whilst the group listens, prompting Xander to ask Serena to join forces for the time being to save the world from the Pandora's box. Returning to the plane, the group watches the news as it reveals that satellites are being used to eliminate targets. A hacker appears on the broadcast, threatening to drop more satellites unless his demands are met. Becky informs the group that the real Pandora's box is still out there, leaving them no choice but to save the world again. Xander seeks to uncover which CIA members are misusing the satellites, offending Jane and her men with his insinuations. Reviewing footage, they discover the director is behind the chaos, sparking tension within the group as they track down his location. The director is hiding out in a secure spot in Detroit. Xander's crew arrives, setting up their equipment and preparing to execute their plan. While Serena and Xander bond over their shared connection to Augustus, swapping stories, the group advances toward the director's location. Their drive is interrupted by heavy traffic. While waiting, they encounter Shang and his team, leading to a massive brawl on the highway. Xander and Shang leap from truck to truck, chasing and fighting each other through the streets until both are struck by a vehicle, causing a major pileup. The race to find the director continues, with Xander and Shang working together to disarm one of the director's men after being attacked. They eventually reach the director's room, only to find it empty, leaving them confused. It's a trap. The director emerges, aiming his weapon at Xander while gloating about killing Augustus. Adele attempts to shoot him but is hindered by heat sensors. Xander gives her a subtle clue, allowing her to take the perfect shot, killing the director and avenging Augustus. Jane then arrives with her men, retrieves the box and arrests Shang. Following the chaos, Shang finds himself forced onto a plane with Jane. The tension skyrockets as Jane suddenly receives a call and, without warning, aims a gun at Xander. At the same time, the rest of the team is surrounded by an extraction unit, preparing for what could become a brutal shootout. Just as it seems that Xander and his crew are facing total annihilation, Jane fires, seemingly ending Xander. However, his armor absorbs the impact, allowing him to regain consciousness. Seizing the moment, Shang creates a diversion, taking out one of the soldiers. As Xander's team fights off waves of attacks, they struggle to prevent more satellites from being turned against them. Xander engages in a fierce one-on-one showdown with Paul, while Shang demonstrates his exceptional combat prowess, dispatching multiple enemies and refusing to yield. Amid the escalating conflict, a stray bullet hits the pilot, sending the plane spiraling dangerously out of control. The intensity of the battle only grows. Tennyson sustains injuries, but the Hood heroically drags him to safety. Meanwhile, Serena and Adele form an unstoppable duo, taking down every soldier in their way with incredible precision. Heavily outnumbered and pinned down, the group prepares for what seems like their final stand. Suddenly, an explosion rips through the scene, revealing Darius Stone, the original XXX, charging in to save the day. His sudden appearance earns astonished respect from the entire team. Back on the plane, the tension peaks as Shang faces Jane, who is determined to launch the satellite. With lightning-fast reflexes, Shang kills Jane, sending her plummeting from the aircraft. Xander manages to take out the satellite just in time, then leaps from the spiraling plane, struggling to deploy his parachute as he lands on a crate, managing to crash. He is quickly assisted by the rushing team, all relieved to see him alive. Together, they successfully destroy Pandora's box, solidifying their bond as a unified crew. Darius pulls up in his classic GTO, meeting Xander for the first time. They share a moment, discussing Augustus and expressing their hope of working together in the future. The story ends with a heartfelt ceremony for Augustus, honoring his extraordinary legacy. However, in a surprising twist, Augustus appears out of nowhere and reveals himself to Xander.
Gotcha. Think you're the only one knows how to play dead? Now what? Let me simplify it for you. Kick some ass and try to look dope while you're doing it.
Thanks for staying to the end as usual. I'd love to hear some feedback from you all, and as always, see you on the next one.